My name is Shandev and I work here as a volunteer at Adore. So, at first, I would like to give a brief intro of the organization. That is, Adore is a global volunteer network of students and professionals motivating youth towards positive action. This webinar is just an example of the work that the organization does. So today we have with us Mr. Mibueneni Mason, a writer with a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology from the European University of Lefke, Cyprus, who will conduct a webinar on Later Voices Echo. So on behalf of the Adore, I welcome you all to the webinar, and we have Pradipta sir. He is one of the admin members and operational in charge of Adore. Before we start, I would request everyone to turn on their cameras to make the session more interactive. Those who didn't register for the webinar can go check out the chat box. There we have the link for the webinar. So without further ado, let us start the session. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Um,
Yeah, good afternoon.
Thank you very much for this privilege, an opportunity for us to actually come together, actually share maybe from our experiences and how each and every one of us could actually grow and then learn and understand. And then another thing is that I am actually here to learn too. So as I'm speaking, I'm actually literally speaking to myself because later on I'll go back and then I'll still have understanding of what has been said. Yeah. So before I start, this the acronym for love, it came to me 2019 when I started writing. I didn't used to write before until 2018. So one of those days I was going through a whole lot of problems and I was feeling really bad because I felt that there are people that are meant to help me and they were not necessarily helping. And then one of those days I was sitting like in the mountainous areas, so I was trying to write. And then I realized that I've actually been sent to as a savior to help other people. So I shouldn't be waiting to be helped. So my duty is to actually get up at that moment, realize what I have to do and begin to help, regardless of how little it is. That little part that I play will actually make a whole difference. The position I found myself at that particular point, that meanwhile I was complaining, some other persons, they actually want to get to that particular point. They are still building to get to that point. So that was where the acronym came out from. Let our voices echo. Okay, so we'll start from the first letters because how I did it is speaking about the letters. Let our voices echo. So from from the letter, um, from the first word, let. So I believe that we have all been given opportunity and chance to actually change our world and change the things that are around us during our time on earth. So we as individuals, we as people, regardless of wherever you come from, regardless of your location, from the day that you realize, from the day that you wake up from sleep, not necessarily physical sleeping, but from the day you have the understanding that there's so much to be done. From that particular moment, you know that you have an assignment. And I've joined so many groups that have actually helped me and built me up to this point. And one of the things I've realized that I keep saying is that the moment that you wake up, that's the moment that you start to do your assignment. There is so much to be done around us, regardless of your location, regardless of who you are, regardless of how you are, regardless of however you look at yourself. There's someone that actually admires you and wants to be like you. It means that there is growth at every point. So there are decisions, there have been made like before now that are actually championing our world, that are actually governing our world right now. Imagine if those decisions were never made. It means that this world won't take this shape. So it means that each and every one of us too could actually make decisions that will actually have an effect on this world. Every single person, regardless of the race, size, wherever you are, your location, everyone has an impact in this world that we are. Yeah. And then knowing that the time actually records our deeds. I know that most times people say this thing that most times people along the line they forget about some things that have been done and all of that. But for me, I don't actually believe that personally. What I believe is that time and history records every single deed, every single thing that is being done by either by us, our friends. It's going to be in memory. It's going to be in history. It might not necessarily be in maybe countries' history book and all of that, maybe taught in schools and all of that. But it's just a way of encouraging myself to know that there is more to be done. And then another thing is that when I told myself that it's time to do something or it's time to get up to do these things, I'm not looking for the benefits or the profits. The profits should be the lives that I'm actually changing. The profits should be the people that are actually being transformed. Yeah, that should be the goal point. That should be the end point. So
Sorry, sir.
having have
Yeah.
thank you very much for this. I actually skipped my mind. I was supposed to share. Um, so um, so knowing that having understanding alone is not enough. So having understanding of what you want to do or the assignments that you actually have to carry out is not necessarily enough. And then having the knowledge to, like you've gathered information and all of that, is still not enough. But then now having the wisdom to of this particular assignment or whatever that you actually see there's actually an issue, still is not enough. And because why these things are not enough is that if you don't take the first step of making the application, then it means that nothing's going to be done. And you see, like I actually wrote, there's going to be like a plan or a plan or a dream or an idea that was just conceived only in our mind. And it's not going to be possible. It's just like a dream. You go to bed and you tell me, oh, I had a dream. I wouldn't, how do I actually know the dreams that you actually had? It's not possible for me to know until I see them in action, until I see them like in physical reality. So that's when I'm going to know, okay, these dreams are coming to reality. Okay, this is what this guy told me. And then this is what this lady said. And then they're actually coming to pass. Okay, I could actually see it now. Yes, I can see it. This is what they said, and this is true. And they're actually working in accordance to what this particular dream or whatever that has been said. Okay, so having said all this, there's something I believe that each and every one of us have a unique assignment. We all cannot be doing the same thing. Everyone cannot be doing the same thing. But what makes it beautiful is that at the end of the day, we all complement each other. So it's just like saying in a household, using a house family where you have the father, the mother, and the siblings. Everyone has their responsibilities. Where maybe when you wake up in the morning, this person does that. At the end of the day, they still come back as family, regardless of regardless of what regardless of whatever or any other person actually did. At the end of the day, it's seen as this family actually did this and this family actually did that. Yeah, so that's how I actually see. But we're all very, very unique. And then we should all know that our uniqueness is what makes us beautiful, regardless of whether it's race, size, regardless of whatever you can think. First thing you should know that you're human, you can breathe, you have an opportunity like every other person, regardless of whatever it is. And an assignment has been given to you, assignment has been given to me. So our own is to wake up, discover or realize this particular assignment has been given to us, and then begin to work on it. Begin to, from that particular moment, begin to work on it. So then I was writing here that the first step of making change is for us to realize that the change has to actually start from us. How is it going to start from us? Our mindset will have to be changed. Now, yes, like I said something earlier on that I was at the place of the mountain. I was just trying to just meditate and write down some poems and all of that. And then I was just realizing that me to have an assignment to help people. So which means I have to change the mentality of being someone that is waiting to someone that is going out to help, someone that is going out to rescue people. So I had to change that mentality. I had to remove that mindset and know that I'm not here to sit here and just wallow, but I have to be the set of persons that will make things happen. And I think there's a common saying, I believe you all know it, that they say that there's two set of people in this world. people that make things happen, and then people that wait for things to be made happen. But we as individuals should always strive to be those persons that actually wake up to make things happen. We don't wait for other persons to make things happen and then we just flow and all of that. Okay, so we have to accept and then rediscover what has been given to us, know the kind of talents we have, whatever thing that we have in our hands, whether you can write, whether you can sing, you can draw, regardless of whatever it is, you can speak. And then you walk. Now, when you now realize these things that you have, what do? You begin to develop yourself. You begin to work on yourself. You work on yourself on every single talent or giftings that you have. And then you take advantage of that. You use it now, you use that as a tool for you to actually speak for yourself. So, like I wrote here, age, race, geographical location cannot actually limit us as agents of change because each and every individual, we're actually agents of change. And then challenges are just there to test us. How serious are you? How serious do you really want this change? That's why the challenges are there. And then there's this joy when you actually overcome something and then you see the end result, the goal. There's this joy that always comes that yes, you are actually satisfied that yeah, I went through these hurdles, I overcame them, and then these are the products of what I actually got at the end of the day. Yeah. So, like I said earlier on, we all have responsibilities as humans to help the next person. So it could be someone that is here. Maybe I have another assignment. I'm just assuming I have an assignment, and someone that is here. I ought to help the person. I have to realize that. I have to know that. I have to try and discover that. It might be the person on your street. It might be from your home. It might be someone even in school. Okay, because like these days you realize, oh, there's always been there are cases of bullying in schools and all of that. You could be the one to stand up, to stand up to those bullies and say, no, this has to stop. It might look like, okay, it's not necessary or it's not a big deal, but you could actually start from somewhere where you stand up for people, whereby people that are being marginalized, people that can actually speak for themselves, because that's what this acronym actually stands for. People that cannot speak for themselves. People that because you go to work every day, you go to school every day, you go out from the beginning of the morning or till you come back in the evening. There are persons that you see that you know that if you actually had maybe an amount or certain amount of money or a certain way you could actually help them. Those persons, we are to stand up and speak for them. We are to stand up and speak for them at every point. Please, can you move to the next slide? Okay. Okay, then one thing we should know that there's a price to pay for every single thing. There's a price to pay for every single thing. Growing up, when I was in my junior high, I've stood up to bullies so many times. I used to be like very small, but I don't want to say maybe I was stubborn, but I never allowed people like try to override me. I was very quiet, but when you try to override me or people, you want to try to override people around me, it was very painful because I knew how it was since I was small and people always want the big guys will always want to shade you and all of that. But then I always tried to stood up. I stood up at every point in time. Most times, one of the times I got beaten so well, but that didn't actually stop me. I didn't actually now say because I got pushed down, then I'll now stay on the ground. That was even the more reason that I stepped up more. And then in one of those cases, one of those bullies later became friends. We started talking about. I said, I wanted to understand why, guys, why are you doing all this? Because at the end of the day, from the moment you say that you want to make an assignment or you want to do a certain thing, the world, these obstacles come. So, but like I said earlier on, how serious are you? What's the level of hunger? How much do you want this change? That's what that's what we should be asking ourselves. And then sacrifices that I've actually done in those times when I got to Cyprus, and then I realized that there are things that have to be done. I was battling so many things, but I could work and I could earn some amount of money. So what I started doing was that I started removing some percentage to keep aside so that I could actually help some other kids, maybe in their nursery and primary school. I could help pay for fees and all of that. That was my own personal sacrifice. It took a ton of me, like on several occasions. But then I realized that at the end of the day, I was putting joy on someone's face. I was putting a smile on a mother's face. I was putting a smile on his father's face. Maybe they could actually, affect a certain extent. I spoke with one of my cousins, and then all we could do was start trying, seeing ways to get books. It was not convenient for me because me too, I needed money. Even till I still need money. But at the end of the day, going back at night, going back to sleep at night, and I realized that okay, there is some other person that is less privileged, but now has received help, and this person is now privileged to be like other maybe students in a school or class. They are able to go to school. Maybe they didn't have uniforms, they didn't have sandals, they didn't have books and all of that. Their parents couldn't afford that, so I'm able to actually help in my own little way. Yes. So that will bring us to the next part, which is R. So the word R brings to mind our responsibilities as individuals and as a group. So which means all that I've been saying, I've been speaking about individuality all this time. But then we have to come to realize that a time will have to come whereby the burden is going to be heavy on you. So you will need to look for like minds. You have to look for people too around you that think like you, that want to change, that want to help people, that want to help people grow, that want their own world to change. So then you meet these persons, and then you begin to start things. You write down the assignments, you write down your visions, you write down the reasons why you're actually doing this. Yes, so that because when you have the reasons why you're actually doing this, you don't actually go off track. Yeah. And then and then a reminder that we are not the only ones that are actually doing this. Because most times when you're actually doing this alone, you could actually just feel you're the only one that's actually doing this. But then coming to realize that there are persons too that have these burdens, there are persons too that have this zeal too. They want to change things in their own world. Maybe they want to change things in their country, in their streets, in their home, in their schools, wherever place, in their offices. So, but then now, when we actually come together, the goals that were big, they actually begin to look smaller. And then, for example, like okay, when I was writing down most of all these things, one of the things that came to mind was this platform, Adore. And then I was like, wait, that's true. Adore is giving a platform for people to come together. See, so it didn't just start from one person, or maybe it started from one person, but people had to come together to make this platform stand today. And then speaking of sacrifice, I said earlier on that I had to keep money aside and all of that. I cannot just imagine the sacrifice that must have been put on this particular platform to make it stand, and then to make that our voices are being heard, that people are able to come here and speak out, that people could hear and say, okay, there's a way to actually send a message across to certain persons from across the globe. So it means that people would have had sleepless nights, from the guys that we see at the front to the guys we don't see at all, to the back end guys that we don't see at all, the computer guys, the guys that are doing the media, and every single person, to the volunteers. Everyone will be sacrificing time, resources, every single thing we're giving out. But this was possible because people came together. Now the burden now is less. The burden now is now reduced. And then since we are all here because we have like a similar goal to actually make our voice echo, to actually make our mark in this world, not just to just come and pass through the world, um, 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 like the way it is. And then we we all know that, give for example, just imagine that we are like 1 million persons in a particular place and we shout at once. It's going to the echo is going to be so loud. Like people will be able to hear it from far. But if it's just one person, it's not going to be that strong. That's why unity is important, and that's why we all have to come together. And because when coming together actually gives us strength and makes us actually stronger. So, and then like growing up from where I come from in Nigeria, there's this saying, although it's written there, there's this saying that only a parent could not raise a child. That's like saying that a child belongs to the community. So when you see children grow, it's like every person actually put the child actually had an impact from every person in society. So that's the reason why we tend to conform to our society. We tend to conform to our environment. That's because it's not just our parents alone that actually taking care of us. Parents might look at you and say, "Oh, you are from so and so part of so and so part." Why are they able to say that? Because those certain persons are known for some traces. So that's why you will now realize that, so how did this person actually know? Okay, oh wow, how did you know? That's true. But it's just because we conform to our environment, we conform to every single person as we grow up. We as beings that we try to observe and learn majority of times, especially like children when growing up, they try to observe and learn instead of asking questions. So that's what we do 90% of our times. And then, okay, so as I said earlier on that when we come together, it becomes easier. The burden becomes lighter, and we become stronger when we actually do this together. Now, please, can you move to the next slide? Thank you. And then, before I go ahead, let's not of saving or changing our world does not rest on one person alone. It rests on each and every individual, from me, you, every single person in this place, whether they're here or they're not here. Every single one of us has a responsibility to change. Like I said earlier on, we are all ages too. So it means that they too, there are people too that are actually merging on a line just to from where we are, from where we are sitting, mindsets that have the same pattern of thinking, or maybe some people in poverty, or let me use the word, people that are unable to get education. They're not able to get education on their own far end. So I want to be able to be a voice, a person, a change that will actually channel or actually be able to champion this kind of movement. Whenever we do this, whenever we start, there will be persons that will always come around that always have this kind of imaginations and this kind of mindsets too. And then let's know there will always be sacrifice, there will be prices to be paid. It's not going to be easy, but it's always going to be worth it. But with resilience and consistency, we can even achieve more than we are even talking about here right now. So, as I was saying, okay, so as I was saying, um, I was saying that okay, with resilience and consistency, we can achieve more than we can ever imagine. Yeah, even what we're actually saying here is even just the tip of the iceberg. There's still so much that can be said. There's still so much that can be achieved. And then the sky, there's this saying that the sky is the limit. But for me personally, I say that the sky is not the limit. It's just as many of us, as many people that dare to take step of faith against all odds. They don't really care of what's going to happen or anything, but they choose to take the bull by the horn, and then so and then automatically you realize that the sky is not going to just be the limit, but the sky is going to be the the starting point. So that will take us to the next part, voices. So voices here in this context refers to every resource that we have, from our voice, like as we are doing it at this moment, to every materials that we have. It can be financial, it can be anything, it could be anything. But then now, what are the resources used to help other people? So as long as it can stand for and can fight for. So it means that if we can use these resources to fight for this cause, or we can use it to fight to help people, then they're actually resources and they're actually good for the cause. And then there's a friend that he spoke. There was this group I was in, and then he wrote a book. And then that was where when I was writing, I remember the word unmute. That's actually the name of the book. He he said something about we unmuting ourselves. Why the reasons why we shouldn't keep quiet. So every single thing that we have, ought to speak for the cause that we believe in. Every cause that we believe in, everything that we have, every resource that we have should actually speak. We shouldn't mute ourselves, but rather we should speak out. So, like, I actually listed some things down here. So there are several ways that we as individuals or groups can actually impact their community, excuse me, and those around them. So one of the ways is to identify and leverage talents and giftings. So now, no longer speaking as individuals, but speaking as groups. So for the skill sharing, so you could use personal skills, teaching, art, music, sports. There could be so many ways to actually get people to actually run workshops, classes for underprivileged communities. I was going through the website of Adore, and I could see like skills, personal skills that have been used for like schools to actually help to help underprivileged communities. So that's an example of one thing I'm actually speaking about. And then their mentorship programs could be offered as individuals. You could do that, and then as groups too, that could be done. So people offering mentorships to youth, to women, to children, guiding them in education, career choices, and personal development. And then, okay, to add this, one of the reasons why I started studying psychology, it wasn't necessarily because I loved psychology, but I was doing engineering previously. I did aeronautical telecommunication engineering before, and then I started doing electronics and communication engineering. But at the time, it got a bit boring, if I can say that. But then I started asking myself, what can I do to help people? What can I do to help my community? What can I do to help people around me? And then prior to that time, I used to be an addict. Like I was addicted to drugs, alcohol, and all of that. So then now, but I've been clean for a long time, and then I realized that that's another assignment that I have. So in order for me to talk to people, in order for me to talk to these certain persons, yes, they will understand that I've been there before about these things. So that was one of the reasons why I started studying psychology. Not for my personal self, but because I knew that it was going to help me in the future when I'm going to speaking to people or people that have or that have been in these certain places and find it difficult for them to come out from these certain addictions and all of that. Yeah. So career choices and personal development, and then creative projects, create arts, music, literature that raises awareness about social issues and inspires action. If you watch, I know that there's so many platforms that actually I cannot be waiting for my government. I cannot be waiting for the people around me to do this or the politicians and all of that. I have to stand up on my own too and do this and do what I have to do. Okay, so we can actually utilize financial, like establishing scholarships and small grants for students for underprivileged background, fundraising, organize fundraising events or campaign to support cause that benefits youths, women, children, people that are actually marginalized in society. Then the microfinance, those that could be for like the people that have bigger platforms, provide small loans to women, young entrepreneurs to start or grow their businesses. But we can never know. This you could start from little, and then before you know, you're giving out loans to people, and then empowering young entrepreneurs. So, like I said earlier on, I was actually keeping money aside always to actually. I still do that till now, and but that was my own way of doing my own like little scholarship and grants that I could actually help kids that were in my community. Although even if I'm far from them, but that was one of the ways I knew that could help. And but then, now after at first it was a burden with my relatives and then some other friends and all of that. I talked to them about what I was doing, and then it made sense to them. So then we started doing. Everyone started bringing out money, whatever they have, in a way they could actually help too. So it made the burden like reduced at the end of the day. Okay, so volunteer time and effort. So please, next slide. Community services, participate in organized community service projects, like cleaning up drivers' help camps, educational initiatives. There's so much that could be done. Like this morning, I was in the bus, and one of the things that came to mind is that as a young child could wake up in the morning and then they're all secondary school students and then they make up their minds that every weekend, Saturdays, we will all be cleaning our streets, we'll all be cleaning our schools, our environment, regardless of whether we're being paid or not. It's not about even about the money, but it's now having the understanding that we all have to live in a clean environment. I cannot be waiting for my government. Since my government are doing it, let me be doing this other one too to help in my own little way I could actually help. So then there are non-profit involvements, like what we're actually doing now. They volunteer with or start non-profit organizations that focus on issues that are actually affecting youth, women, children, and then networking and advocacy, advocacy, awareness campaign. So there's a place where you can use social media to and others to support. I would have loved to call maybe some names of group, but that'll be more of like advertising. So there'll be no need to actually do that. So Adore is actually doing that. So I prefer to just use trying to help them to be better people for the society. And then workshops and seminars that are being done, just like what we're actually doing here. So conduct workshops on important topics like health, finance, literacy, and career planning. Then entrepreneurial ventures, social enterprises, so many things that could be done. Start businesses that aim to solve social problems, such as providing job opportunities to the less privileged or producing affordable products for low-income communities. So there is so much to be done, but these things are possible when we only come together. So like marketers is to create platforms that will help artisans, small farmers, or entrepreneurs from marginalized communities, people that are able to get help and all of that. So then we can still go ahead, advocacy and policy influence. And then there's something I've realized. There's a reason why you are stationed at the place of work. There's maybe you might be working in government, yeah, maybe you're working governing body, the governmental body. There's a reason why you're stationed there. You're not just stationed there just to just make money and all of that, but you're still stationed there to actually to actually speak out to help people too that are marginalized. Governing body, the governmental body. Thank you very much. And I'll soon be done. Um, thank you. So I was talking about we being in offices, places whereby yes, we're actually going about our daily jobs or our daily things that will actually fetch money and all of that. But then I was saying that we still represent not just ourselves, but a society, a person, a particular idea that could actually still speak out to help certain persons that are actually being marginalized, regardless of wherever we work, regardless of whoever community mobilization, mobilize community members to collectively address local issues and advocate for change. So health and wealth and well-being. So trying to create support and initiate health programs that focus on nutrition, mental health, and preventive care. Please, can you go to the next slide, sir? Thank you, sir. And then if there's something I've come to realize is that mental health are not really taken that serious. But we as individuals, we should learn to know when to come out to help people and all of that. When to recognize that these issues are mental issues, and then certain persons need help, and we ought to know how we ought to know the kind of help too that we are asking for. I think that's another thing too. Okay, then safe spaces, create safe spaces for women, children to discuss challenges and receive support. Combination of these strategies can bring a significant change to individual, community, society, and how much more when it's actually a team effort. So for the echo, This actually just refers, this is the last part. It actually refers to the results of the little steps that are being taken, the actions that was taken against all odds, and then the resultant effect of every ripple. So if we don't actually take the first step, we won't get to the echo, we won't get to this last part. So that's the reason we have to take every step, everything we do actually matters, regardless of how little it is, regardless of how we say people are not seeing me, I'm not being recognized. It's not about being recognized, but it's about changing lives. It's about transforming people. It's about transforming lives. Okay, so the effects, I just brought like the effects them together. So utilizing personal resources and talents, like improved it's why what one of the outcomes that you get is improved educational outcomes and skill sets. So the things that you see in the people that we are actually maybe going through these programs, or the people that have been helping or they have been empowering. So empowerment of youth, start businesses, increased public awareness and engagement, um, and resources, healing and emotional support for the vulnerable, be it maybe because some things that must have happened, fights, war, and all of that. But then when these platforms are actually set up to healing and emotional support for the vulnerable, increased funding and visibility for social causes, then and services, better access to essential services for the vulnerable, sustainable economic growth, positive social and environmental impact, and then the resultant effect of these actions. Um, please, can you move to the next slide, sir? Thank you, sir. Please, can you move to the next slide? The last slide, sir. Thank you. Okay, so for empowerment and self-sufficiency, we have that individuals become more reliant and capable of supporting themselves and their families. Yeah, increased confidence and self-esteem among youths, among women, children. So there'll be improved quality of life. There'll be access to better education, healthcare, economic opportunities, enhanced well-being and life satisfaction. There will be social and economic development. There will be a reduction in poverty and unemployment rates, because I don't believe there's only the government that is meant to create job opportunities. We as individuals too. That's why we have entrepreneurs and people. We see people today starting up businesses and all of that. They're able to employ people, and then not just relying on public sectors alone, but even on private sectors too. So there will be stronger community bonds and mutual support system. Very important, which is very important because of the marginalized persons in the society. And then inspirations, inspiring others to take similar actions and contribute to social good, and then creating a role model for future generations. Because when we do all these things, people keep looking, and then children, young people are being inspired, youths are being inspired. If this person can do this person can go this far against all these odds. I too can do this. I too can go this far. You've actually not just changed life, but you've actually inspiring future generations too. So this was actually the poem, this was actually the poem that I actually wrote on that particular day, that let our voices echo the burdens of our hearts, which means like, because at that particular point in time, it was just me personally, and this was 2019, and let our voices echo out the distress call. Let our voices echo out silent cries. Let our voices echo out the storm within. Let our voices echo the pains in the dungeon. Let our voices echo the rage of the earth. Let our voices echo the last words of our heroes. Let our voices echo our heart desires. Let our voices echo out, let our voices echo out for those without tongues. I believe that we've actually gotten so much. I've gotten so much too from this. But then to round it up, what I would just say is that at the end of it all, in pursuit of our assignments, in pursuit of every little thing that we're going to do, we have to do it from the place of love. We have to do it from the place whereby no, do it from the place whereby I'm not expecting to get anything in return. So my mind is fixed and set that I want to help these persons, I want to help the world, I want to help my community, I want to help the upcoming generation. These certain things I've seen I don't like. How will I change them? I have to go about, I have to sacrifice, put in resources, my time, my spending, all I want to spend, but I have to make sacrifices. Thank you very, very much. Thank you for the opportunity. I, I truly appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mission, for the beautiful presentation. And now we will have a question and answer session. So, all of the participants, the questions which you are having, you can put it in the chat or you can ask directly by turning on your mic. So, over to you, Mission.
Sir, I have one question.
Um,
How can
okay, am I
schools
supposed to
support?
ask them for the questions they have?
No, no,
Okay.
yeah, they will give the question, you have to answer them like this. Means they will ask their doubts or any questions which they are having, and you will just answer them. Or,
Sir, I have one question. How can schools support the Let Our Voice Echo movement?
Questions that have been put here already. How can youth effectively elevate their voices in their community? How can youth effectively elevate their voices in their community? Okay, so like I said earlier on, I'll use myself as an example. One of the things I realized was that first of all, I realized I have a voice, I have a talent, I can write, I could use my talent and my whatever thing I have, be it whatever, even if you call it a gift or a talent or resources, whatever thing that you have at hand, all these things could be used. All these things are voices, and they could be used to actually speak out in our respective communities. So if you're a writer, you can begin to write. Like, okay, let me not even just go that far. I earlier when I talked about whereby like when I was in the bus and I was coming, and then I was thinking to myself, whereby like how young people wake up early in the morning and then they say, okay, we want a change in my society. We want a change in our society. This society belongs to us, but we want a change. And we cannot be waiting for the government. So what do they wake up in the morning, maybe in the weekends, and then they begin to clean the environment? That was the simplest example I gave. And then they begin to clean their environment, not waiting for the government to do that for them, not waiting for every other person, maybe people that must have been paid to do that, but they go ahead to actually do that by themselves. So those are one of the ways we could actually speak. Then that they're using their strength, which is actually like a voice that could actually be heard and could make actually that could make effective change in their community. So I could use my writing to make changes because like me personally, I write, and then there are platforms that I write poems and I post. You see, so I could be writing for my community, I could be writing for my school, I could be writing for for anything. And then I actually sing, but okay, I don't use this. But let's assume I write songs. I could write songs too and use this too as a way to actually help my community to actually speak out for people that are being marginalized. I could actually go ahead and train myself in so many other ways. Like I talked about me going for psychology. Psychology was not my original choice. I was still doing my engineering, and I'm thinking about going back to engineering before this call came up. And then so now I study psychology, and then I'm using that as a means to help people back home, people in my place, in my community. I use it to come to join with other forces, other people to back home to see how we can actually help to bring people that are addicts, people that are going through problems and all of that, people that are having issues, men, women, and all of that. Okay, so I don't know if I've been able to answer the first question, how can youth effectively elevate their voices in their community? And I said something earlier on, we know that there are going to be hurdles, there are going to be problems, there are going to be issues, but we should not back down. We are being pushed down the first time at once doesn't necessarily mean we will not back down. I didn't say that. I'm not saying that I didn't have challenges. I've had so much challenges at time whereby I'll have to go to work, serious work, and then menial job. And then I realized that, okay, I've already made up my mind that I will have to give a certain amount of money to this certain person. Sometimes if I think about it, I'm like, okay, is there any need to actually do this? Is there any need to actually do that? But no, I have a commitment, so I still stick to the book. I stick to the book. Okay, so let me move to the next question because I'm seeing that more questions are coming up. Okay, so what practical steps can youth take to implement eco principles daily? What practical steps? Okay, if you realize on this last slide, on this last slide, one of um one of this enhanced social cohesion, see stronger community bonds and mutual support system, reduction in social inequalities and injustice. There are there are there are so many there are so many platforms that you could actually join today, and you could actually speak. You could actually be privileged to speak. Just like how me, I joined Ado. I didn't know about Ado before, but then I was searching for places whereby I could speak out to, whereby my voice too could be heard. And then I did research, started looking for platforms to whereby I could actually speak. I could actually speak about it. And then echo, let's not forget that echo is actually the end product of when you've actually taken the first step. You've come together with other persons, you've raised your voice. Echo is like the end product of what you're actually getting. But the full thing is love, which is let our voices echo. So except maybe you're asking the practical steps that youth can take to implement love, yes, then daily it's going to be easier to answer that. But if you're saying the practical steps that can be taken to implement echo principles daily, you still have to go from the beginning. You still have to go from the beginning. And then what I can say about that is that you don't necessarily have to start doing the big things. There are little things that you could start. Like I said from the beginning, you're in a school standing up for every other person. You you come together, you come together as students and then try to see how you could help other students too. It could be from, like I spoke about, uniforms, books. Um, 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 I remember, okay, I'm sorry about that. A call came in. Okay, I was talking about like books. One something that came to mind now is, imagine in your school you're setting up a library, and then you know that there are certain books that are not being able to be they're not able to be gotten by students or by people, or they're not able to afford them. So now you try to set up a library, or the school has a library. So what you start doing is that you start buying more books, most of those books then to the library, those books that are not actually there, you try to store the library with more books, so that persons that are not able to get will able to, not just you're no longer there in that particular place, other persons too will come up and meet up with those things. So there's a place of sacrifice whereby you have to actually use your personal cash, but then now the burden is reduced when you work together with people. It makes more sense when you work together with people. How can schools support How can schools support let our voice? Okay. How can schools support? Okay, how I did mine with a particular school was that I although the school is in Nigeria, my country, I spoke to my sibling and my cousin. They have this same vision too. So I spoke to them, and then they went to the school, and then they told them the kind of plans that we have. These are the things that we have in mind. Our plans are to keep buying books, giving grants to students that take first, second, and third. But then I told my siblings that there are persons that they are not necessarily sound in education because of their background, not necessarily because if they read, they might not understand, but because they don't necessarily have the opportunity. They, they don't necessarily have the opportunity that's been given to them. like every other student. So when they actually come out to study, or when they actually come out for school and everything, they might be the ones not to actually come out as best students. So among students too that maybe from the behind, they are like the last always in class. We have to give them grants to try to encourage them. It means for students to start try to always fail or something, but no. So it means to encourage them to that, okay, these things have been given to you. The only duty you have now is just to study. So when we spoke to the school, they actually agreed with the whole idea. They said it makes sense. And then too, they were like, okay, they will start to speak to other governing bodies to see if young guys or young people like us too could just wake up and say we want to help schools and all of that without government supports and all of that. So, but then the thing is, you have to actually go and speak to the school. What plan do you have? How can you actually help them at the end of the day? Because at the end of the day, is the profit you're actually looking at. The profit is the people, is the end result, not because at the end of the day, because at the end of the day, it's going to actually not just help them, it's going to help their students too. Okay, what strategies can amplify underrepresented voices? What strategies? Okay, I think we've actually spoken about strategies, and I think I've repeated it here again, but in another way. Strategies, writing, um, maybe singing, arts. There's so much creating awareness. There is so much that can be done. There are platforms like Adore here, like I keep saying, like Adore here. There are platforms that you could actually use to actually amplify voices. And then for strategies, let's assume there are strategies. You have social media accounts from Facebook to whatever. You could start up a know what you're looking for, and then you alone understand these certain persons that are being marginalized or being underrepresented, and then you begin to speak out, and then from there you begin to tag people too that have this same kind of mindset, whereby all of you come together and begin to speak on these platforms. There is Facebook. We don't just use Facebook alone to just chat and then talk to people. We could use the platforms that we have, whatever platform that we have, to actually help in speaking about or helping people that are unable to speak out. Like I said in the poem, people that don't have tongue. That's one of the things that came to mind. People that cannot speak out at all. So there are platforms that could be used instead of just using Facebook, Instagram, and all of that to actually just chat and have fun. You can actually use these same platforms to actually help, to actually speak out for people that cannot actually help themselves at the end of the day. Okay, so what key elements make collaboration between youth successful? Okay, first of all, there's something I said, knowing that we're not going there to make, it's not about making money. Yeah, so if you have in mind that you're going to make money, it's going to be difficult to have a successful campaign, or if I can use the word campaign, or a successful assignment. It's going to be very difficult. So the profit here or the money here are the people that are being elevated, people that their voices are now being heard. So those are the profits that we actually get. The profits are humans. The profits are not this is so we have to have that mindset that we are not coming here. We are not actually going. Of course, there'll be benefits. Yes, there will be benefits after a long while. Will benefits. People will actually see what you're doing, and they'll be like, okay, I like what these youths are doing. How can we support? And then we want to give you scholarships. We want to help. We want to do that. But the focus point, the goal shouldn't be money. Shouldn't be everything. There should be integrity. Okay, you talked about the collaboration. What's key elements? Integrity is very, very important. Integrity as for us youths coming together and being our focus, our goal is to elevate people, to bring them out of these dungeons, these places that people they themselves can actually come out by themselves, but not to, because if there's no integrity, it means that we are going to begin to compromise when we're actually speaking. And then, as we say, is voice. So it means that if we're saying one thing at the same time, there's going to be understanding. But imagine if we're saying different things. Imagine if we're all unmuted right now, and then we're all speaking, we're not going to have any understanding. But imagine if we're unmuted and we are saying what we are saying is the same thing at the same time. It means there is uniformity. And then when someone person listens, person is going to still understand what you're saying. There's understanding everything. So one of the most important things, and for me that stands out, is integrity and then discipline. Discipline. And then we have to, there's resilience too. There's resilience. Like I said, there'll be challenges along the line, there'll be serious challenges. But resilience and consistency along the line is these are things that are going to keep us. And then because since you're already everyone, okay, then another thing is that okay, this just came to mind now. Let's as among youths or group, if we're in a group, every member of the group should have the understanding of what we are doing. Let's assume it's me, Aman, I think I pronounced your name well, and Santra. Maybe three of us are coming together now to actually do something. The three of us must have this understanding of what we are doing. We must be on the same page at the same time. If I'm lagging behind, they have to carry me along. If one person, if a man is lagging behind, we have to carry him along. So that at every point in time, we all know that we are going out. We all have this same mindset. We are not going and then maybe Sandra and Aman are now doing positive and then I'm not dragging them back doing negative. No, at every point in time, we have to carry ourselves along. So yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, so do anyone else have any questions for Mason? Okay, so if there are no questions, so we are coming to the closing of the webinar. And before we depart, I would like to thank Mason for giving this beautiful presentation. And along with that, I would like to thank Dinesh sir, Simran ma'am, Pradipta sir, and all the responsible members for making this webinar a success. Adore connects with established professionals and offers a platform to learn from their journeys. So, if anyone is interested, you can visit the website of Adore. We have shared a link in the chat box. We request you to give your valuable feedback as it would help us also in understanding. So, once again, thank everyone for joining, and the webinar is now ended, and you all can leave the meeting. Thank you, Mason, once more.